And many times he's tearing down walls is having the moral courage, the spiritual courage, to speak truth to power when necessary. I spoke about one of the children of Israel, Joseph. We have this other example in the Torah and the Quran of Moses speaking truth to power to Pharaoh. Now, Moses was an individual who was raised in the house of Pharaoh. He was educated in this house. He reaped a lot of benefits from being in the household of Pharaoh as a younger person. Yet, he had the moral conviction to stand up and speak truth to power, even at the risk of him losing social favors and also even his life. This is part of one of the lessons of the story of Moses. So we, as people of faith in the Interfaith Movement, we have to have the moral courage, and it was mentioned before, by to stand up and speak truth to the Federal Bureau of Investigations, Immigration Custom Enforcement, the DEA, fusion centers that are operating throughout our states that are involved in intelligence gathering of law-abiding American citizens that are not breaking the law at all, of the CIA partnering with the NYPD that are surveilling who is going in and out of an Arab organization or a mosque. We have to have the moral courage to stand up and to challenge these situations. I could keep on going further, and as you know, when you give a preacher a microphone, we can be long-winded, but I will stop those comments right now. Thank you.
Let's hear from all of our panelists, everybody. So we have a microphone, and we'll do something about it.
Also, if I can make one brief comment, Congressman, just for the record, like I've been on 2 sponsored U.S. State Department trips overseas, and I've been at the Malian embassy twice, or our embassy in Mali. I've spoken at a couple of conventions underwritten by the State Department, as well as I've met probably with International Visitors Bureau, at least dignitaries from about 30 different countries. But you know, part of this issue too is that with our national Muslim organizations, and barring the mosque CAIR that was started by Imam Muwaffaq Muhammad, these organizations and their leadership don't reflect the demographics of the American Muslim community. Therefore, I'm one of the few who've embarked on these types of trips because I am literally one of the few. Like there's only 35 CAIR offices, there's only 2 black directors. So that's just something, that's just a reality of how our organizations are at this time. If I can make a comment, sorry. Regarding this issue, and I know that from an intrafaith perspective that we Muslims, we have this concept of ummah, that we have a universal type of camaraderie or fellowship between Muslims. And other religious groups also have this same concept. But we really, as Muslims, we do reflect, we're part of this American society, and we do reflect a lot of the socioeconomic and racial division there is in other religious groups. I mean, in suburban areas, white Catholics really aren't getting together and have some different concerns than a Mexican-American Catholic who lives in Southwest Detroit from an African-American Catholic who lives on the west side of Detroit. I'm using my hometown just as an example. There's not a lot of social interaction, and sometimes those groups, based upon their socioeconomic level and their historical history in America, have very different issues. And the Muslim community is just a reflection of that larger societal phenomenon. From our tradition, I am privileged to go and give sermons at mosques of various ethnic groups. There's a saying in Islam of Prophet Muhammad that he doesn't appreciate God who does not appreciate people. In other words, an individual truly doesn't think or appreciate God if they don't show appreciation to people. And I think part of the issue is we don't get together enough and know enough about each other to appreciate what each other has brought to the table. I said this to a community leader on Sunday who was talking about this issue of Muslim unity, and he invited me to a meeting. He's South Asian. And I said to him, part of the problem why this group is failing is because you can't invite people to unity and then you have the agenda preset. It's like a table. It's like a dinner table, right? Don't say that we're all going to get together and come across and try to get to know each other, and then all you have is biryani at the table. I said, no, I have to bring some macaroni and cheese. You let the Bosnian brother bring his Bosnian dish, Turkish dish, and then the Arab has to bring some hummus, and the Nigerian has to bring some fufu. And I said, I'm going to try your biryani, but you have to eat some macaroni and cheese. You have to eat some hummus. So we all have to come to the table and put forth our issues, and once we taste each other's food, we can come together for proverbial food. Then we can have a common agenda. That has yet to happen truly in the Muslim community, and that's a serious part of the problem that even goes back to our national organizations not reflecting the demographics of the American Muslim community. That's all of them. And I'm saying, and I'm pointing the finger at CAIR first, because I'm a part of CAIR. It's all of them. Okay, I wouldn't say that we worship money or have a tribal allegiance to our social economic group per se, but I do think that religious congregations speak to the needs of their people, and what is emphasized in different religions' texts does have a relationship to their social economic plight, because in a mosque in Detroit, like let's say Detroit, the state of Michigan, 23% of children live below the poverty line in the state of Michigan. The sermon in the inner city of Detroit is going to sound a lot different out in Oakland County, which borders Detroit, which is one of the most affluent counties in these United States of America. There's certain things that are focused on differently, and I don't think that, I don't necessarily blame the congregation, perhaps is out in the suburban area, for not focusing on some of those things more. In regards to the jobs in the interfaith, the jobs in interfaith coalescing or coming together, I think that those imams, pastors, and rabbis have the spiritual obligation to direct their congregations back to the economy and certain, obviously it can't be partisanship in terms of endorsing one particular candidate or one particular party, but to focus on the compassion and the benevolence that our religious traditions teach, and how economic policies can't be, from a faith perspective, can't be extended to marginalize the poorest and the most vulnerable in our society. And I think that the interfaith community could do a great deal in doing this. I know that in Detroit, I'm part of the Metropolitan Interfaith Workers' Rights Committee, and we have certain times where we have it's a coalition with the labor unions as well as Jews, Christians, and Muslims, religious leaders. And we have specific sermons that are tailored at certain times of the year to preach about economic justice and to look into our scriptural traditions and talk about this one issue. And okay. I'm not sure what's going on in other cities or localities.
Good.